It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
Hey everybody, WFO, Joe Castello, back in the WFO Radio studios, and we're going to check in with Ron Capps. Ron Capps won the March meet, huge deal, fuel altered, and given all the chaos that is going on out there in the world, I still want to stay focused on drag racing, on WFO, on this area. Don't get me wrong, on the WFO Ignition Show, we'll cover all kinds of different stuff. It's what's going on in the news kind of program, but the Gatornationals were postponed. We would not have had time to speak with Capps. We now have time to speak with Capps. We're going to speak with Capps. Simple as that. Thanks to a couple of great sponsors. These folks really helpful to WFO Radio. Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology, 800-874-2753. You're buying all kinds of high-performance parts. You should have the best rings. TotalSeal.com. Samtech.edu, 713-683-3817. Your education is something that you can't afford to allow to fall by the wayside. 713-683-3817. Start your education at full speed. Start planning for it. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, 866-480-7223. Obviously, in the future, going to get back to having a good time and focused on positive things. Many of our sponsors are in that arena, and I'm going to continue to tell you about them. Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, and I am certainly still excited. Hopefully, March 27th, I will still be there doing the Dragster Adventure. MagicDryUS.com and RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Marvin Rodax, hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good. I can tell you that a little Rodax coffee in the morning will make you happy. And to me, it is a great, great thing because it's something enjoyable and it's positive and he can ship it out to you and all of those things. Plus, Drag Racing Edge magazine this month has got a great story about podcasting and EV3 drag racing for your mobile device. Big thanks to all of you sponsors. If you're out there listening, thank you for supporting WFO Radio podcast. All right, here we go. Joining us now, he won the March meet. And we're going to hang out and kind of escape from all that is going on with his great victory. Ron Capps. Ron, welcome back to WFO.
Thanks, Joe. It's been a strange week, but yeah, it's kind of cool that I got to race at least that last off weekend before we headed to Gainesville and the whole cancellation and everything.
Let's dive into it. Look, there's going to be a lot of our people, friends, listening to this just to have something else different to listen to than like data and news and information, etc. And I want to use this. I want to hear about this win. And honestly, had the Gatornationals not been postponed just because of the layout of the schedule, we might not have been able to have this conversation. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited about the conversation, but I would have loved to have raced in Gainesville. But those are things that are out of our control, made by leadership and government, higher powers, etc. We just we do what they say to do. It is a bummer, though. Everybody was ready to go racing, and everybody was excited for the East Coast opener, and just dealing with that, disappointment. That's always tough. So the good news is we're going to get happy about your big March meet victory, driving a fuel altered, and I want to hear all about it. This is something that was total major bucket list just to do for you a couple of years ago. Now you won the thing.
Yeah, I've been going, I've talked to you and the fans have heard me talk about the whole nostalgia scene, and what, I started doing it back when I drove the Skull car. I did the first nostalgia funny car race for the good guys when they held that series. And then, of course, NHRA took it over, and it's now called the Heritage Series. And they've got the front-engine rail dragsters that they run in that series, and, of course, the nostalgia funny cars. And then about, 2 or 3 years ago, they started to bring back this AA fuel altered, which most of your listeners, if not all, would know what that is. And that was probably my favorite car growing up as a kid. I was a big funny car guy, but when the fuel alters came up, you just didn't know what was going to happen. They were the most crazy, wild, awesome-looking race cars. So when they started this class up in Bakersfield, they gave it a 6-flat index, so you couldn't run 6 flat or quicker, which in these cars, they're only 115-inch wheelbase, so that's 10 inches shorter than the funny car I normally drive. And, of course, the power-to-weight ratio, there's no downforce on most of them, unless they have a spoiler on some of them. You shift, which is crazy. So it's just like going back in time to the 70s. And so I got a chance to drive one last year at the March meet, and we had a blast. I qualified, and then they asked me to come back and drive the same. It's called the Good Times. It's a Topolino-bodied Alter, which happens to be the same car that my dad, same type of car that my dad had as a kid when we raced in Santa Maria, California, and we ventured out to Fremont and Bakersfield. So there's a lot of not just history, but a lot of personal things going on, getting to drive a fuel Alter. But also, I went to the March meet every year, as do the Hot Rod Reunion, and I go to hang out where I've driven in the past. So it was just kind of a cool thing, not thinking I had a chance to win, which I bragged about having a spot on my mantle for a March meet trophy if I ever got a chance to win it. And lo and behold, it all came together.
Wow. That is tremendous. The the cars you describe it, and we've talked about it. Me being in southeastern Florida, our culture was a little bit different. Don't get me wrong. We had a vibrant drag racing scene, but not enough to support a nostalgia scene, right? So like the fuel Alters, Dad would tell me about them all the time. Like, Joe, you don't understand. He's from the Northeast. There was more up there. You don't understand these things. They went every way but straight, and they were crazy, and it was just like a wrestling match just to get it to the finish line. And then, 1 year, I think the Nanook was at the Gatornationals. It was like, oh my gosh, a fuel Altered. And of course, the guy hit the wall and just craziness going on. Right. And You want to get in one of these things.
Yeah. It's thankfully Don Schumacher allows me, and I've done it for quite a while. I drove the LA Hooker for Steve Pluger. We set the world record for the nostalgia car, went back when I drove that. And then I drove the legendary Blue Max that Dell and Chuck Worsham put together a few years back. And that thing, Dell ran it first at the Dallas race on a Friday night. He made a run in it, and it completely captivated everybody. And it really kind of opened up a lot of eyes in the NHRA scene of what this nostalgia thing was going on, because Dell built this thing to be exactly the way the Blue Max was. And, to see Raymond Beadle and Waterbed Fred and the guys that worked on that car originally stand behind it at the Dallas race that year when Dell made the run, and see tears coming from their eyes watching that car, it just told you how much it meant. So when I got to drive it, it was cool, and we had a blast, and so having fans come out to the March meet and the Hot Rod Reunion, a lot of them don't get to our national events, so you touch fans that may not get to meet you at a national event, first and foremost. Secondly, this race, the March meet, is something I went to every year as a kid. I went because Don Garlitz traveled from Florida, Connie Coletta traveled from Michigan, all out to the March meet because they wanted to pit themselves against the best of the best on the West Coast, and that was Warren and Coburn, and that was Don the Snake Prudhomme, and I mean, you go down the list of everybody that was anybody made it to the March meet because that's where you could put yourself up against the best in the country back then. And as a kid growing up, you got to see everybody. And so just winning that race, I got a text the other day from Don Prudhomme. I woke up in the morning, my old boss Snake said, "Hey man, I just saw that about the March meet. Congratulations." And then he wrote at the bottom of the text, "I won it in 1962. Ha ha ha." So the fact that he reminded me how cool it was that he won back in the 60s, and I don't know how many times he won, but that just tells you, the history of that event.
Wow, tremendous and exciting. The nostalgia scene, something that I didn't quite young people can't understand it, is really what it is, right? You can't understand what it's like to go back to something that you enjoyed when you were younger, when you're older, until you're older. And it's the same for seeing a band, right? Like the people who saw the Rolling Stones out there on the stage when they were teenagers, and then they watch the Rolling Stones now and they get like a little spark of the feeling of what it was back in the day. I am starting to get that with the nostalgia pro stocks because I came on the scene in the 80s and I love pro stock. And so now this year, 50 years of pro stock, you see a car that you hadn't seen since you were 12, and then there it is, and you get like, wow, I'm not supposed to be feeling this feeling, and you get the feeling. For you to be able to drive that and give that experience, like, what about that, Ron? Like, it's an accomplishment for you, but all these people who you're like helping them have this flashback experience.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, and the one good thing about that track in Famoso, which is in Bakersfield, is they've done a great job of keeping this track nostalgia feeling. The track surface is as good as any place we raced on the Mellow Yellow Tour. I'm telling you, it's as great, all concrete. and all the safety is there. They could hold a national event quite easily. But it still has this nostalgia feel. And I still, like the other day at the March meet, I could have walked out into the dirt on the edge of the track and probably stood on the same ground I, as a 7-year-old, played, as a kid and played with my Hot Wheel cars. And it's just got that same feeling. So, for me, going back there, it's that nostalgia feel. Back in the day, and I've talked to some of these old legends, you would leave the track, and back then, you would go to the hotel, and every racer packed up their rigs. They didn't leave them at the track like they do now. They took them back to the hotel. So when you went at night, you would go eat with your mom and dad, and then you would walk around the hotel. And in the parking lot of the hotel would be every racer, especially the ones you looked up to. You had posters on the walls. There would be Don Garlitz and Tommy Ivo and Dom Prudhomme and the Mongoose. They would have their cars unloaded, and they would be servicing their cars, washing parts in the sink and the bathtub, and you could walk around at the hotel at night, and it was actually cooler at the hotel at night than it was at the racetrack. You could walk and stand a foot away from these guys working on these cars that you looked up to and you read about, and you built their models. So that's the kind of history that this race, and this year was the 62nd annual. So that also tells you. But every night from the time we hit town, I had people from the UK and Italy and from Australia that flew over just for this race. And every morning you drive in and you see the cars parked half a mile, 3/4 of a mile from the gate on the side of the road. It's just overwhelming. So you put all that together and a chance to win, and let alone that, but win in a fuel altered. My dad, I had tears of joy in the staging lanes. I've never seen him like that at a race, at one of my NHRA Mellow Yellow races, and that also sort of struck me on how much it meant to win the March meet.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, you did just spike everybody's anxiety when you said you saw people from Italy, but we're just going to let that go and talk about your round by round, because you qualified 8th, Ron. So, you had to take out the number 1 qualifier. You left first, and 6:55, good enough to win the round. In that, 6.0 is the floor of the category. So if you run 5.99, what, you lose?
Yeah, you're out.
Yeah,
you can't. Yeah, it's almost like breaking out in sportsman racing.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, you run 6 flat in one of these things, and you think you set a world record. It's crazy to run that quick in one of these short wheelbase cars. So yeah, you see cars like Pure Heaven and Pure Hell and Nanook and T-bucket bodies and. Again, this March meet, if you've never been, make a point to go, because this, like you said, at Pomona, I went right over to the nostalgia Pro Stock cars. I couldn't believe my eyes. And when they made the run, I was at 1,000 foot watching those Pro Stock cars come down. I cannot wait to watch them run again at whatever national event they're going to be at. The gassers that we have in Charlotte and whatever race that NHRA brings in for exhibition, those are a blast to watch. But that's all the cars you see at this March meet. So, for the fuel altered people to let me come in and race with them was pretty cool. They made me one of theirs, and just to qualify, like you said, was huge. It's an 8-car show and almost 20 fuel altered, so it was hard just to qualify.
Right. So your first round matchup against the number 1 qualifier, I guess they didn't. They had a bit of an issue. Ran 8 seconds, and so you were able to get the lead, maybe click it off to take the stripe. But then second round, you had to go up against, and help me with some of the names because they're not people that I say on a regular basis. But is it Why Not?
Yeah.
Their first round matchup was crazy.
I signed his license off at the big Nitro event that Del Worsham had at Verona. So this kid was somebody that I've known, him and his dad, and I signed his license off. And here, he's one of the better fuel-altered cars that consistently goes down the track. So first round, and let me tell you, I'd never up until the second round made a full run. And I joked about it, that I'd run out of talent every run, but I just didn't have the confidence to stay in the gas past 800 feet or 900 feet. And I didn't want to bring back a car that was wrecked on the back of a tow truck. So anyway, that against Why Not, that was the full run I made under full throttle, and it went 6:12, which is the quickest run ended up on race day. And I posted the video on my Facebook page, and it's upwards of 700,000 views, which is incredible. So people love that, to ride along, camera. But that run there put us into the final round, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I rolled into the staging lanes. I was actually in the final round for the March meet.
How about his first round matchup? He ends up winning on a hole shot, like 6-14 to 6-12 or something. And what is it? It's 6-14-2 beats a 6-13-7. Ended up leaving 7th out ahead of the other guy and winning the race. So you know now if you want to win, you can't coast it on down. He went 6-31 in the race that put you in the final. So this was a courage moment, and I want to hear about that. You're talking about shifting. We've heard a lot of people over the years. I think that you've said it. I don't want to say driving a nitro funny car is easy. It's obviously not easy. It's very complicated. It's very challenging, but you are steering the car. I don't think you could be shifting in there. They're way too fast. But now you got to do all these other things in the short wheelbase, and you got a guy on the other lane. This is old school, like courage-based drag racing here.
Yeah, ignorance or courage. I'm not sure what comes first, but I erred on the side of being smart every run. And the owner of the car and the crew chief on the fuel altar, they were fine. Every time I came back, I said, "Look, I'm just not." It starts moving around down there, me, and I'm not comfortable in staying in the gas. And I surely don't want to call Don Schumacher and tell him I flipped a fuel altar at the March meet after he let me go do it. So, that being said, that was the 6-12 completely. I couldn't stop talking for an hour. I mean, it was one of those great moments. And yeah, there's no downforce, there's no spoiler like our cars have. You're shifting, and it's moving around, and you're in a car that's just not the car you're normally driving. So the steering input isn't exactly the same. So, everybody says, "Man, you're used to going 330 miles an hour in your funny car in 3.8 seconds." Well, it's something that's completely different, and like I tell Don Schumacher, every time I get in one of these, I think it makes me a better funny car driver, especially when we have days we have to pedal the car and we got to maneuver it and feel the rear end and really control the car. I think driving something else like this really makes me a better funny car driver.
Which video is it? Is it Hang On? Is it March Meet? Is it Good News? You've got a couple that the March 13th one. I see a couple of 60-second videos on your Facebook page.
Yeah, there's actually a couple of them. The shutoff run was the first one I posted, and I'm not sure what name it was. But then the one I posted just here recently was the full run I made, where you can ride along with the 6-12 run. And boy, there's a lot of moving around. I kind of moved to the center line, and you were having to reach down and pull the lever to shift it, and that's just like old school days. There's no button on it to hit, and have to manually hit the parachutes, unlike today what we do in our funny cars. So there's a lot going on, and it's they mounted a GoPro camera, and it's got a perfect placement because you can really see what I was feeling in the car.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to hit the video. I'm going to hit the video right now, Ron. We're going to see what happens. Here we go. Let's see. Can you hear it? You can't hear. I can't hear audio with you on here. That's unfortunate. But I see you in there, and you're doing a lot. Those front tires, Ron, they're not gripping the track very well. There's not a lot of them compared to what you've got in your funny car. All right, you're staging. You're going through your whole thing. Sorry, people, you got to go to Ron's Facebook page. This is a reason for you to go to the Facebook page just to watch this. You're tugging the brake. You release a lot of steering input, clutch dust. You're one-handed down the track, pulling it off the center line, and throw the chutes out. Oh, you got a lot of bumps down there in the shutdown area, don't you?
Not bumps. That's the fuel altered.
Wow.
That's when the chutes hit. The ride isn't over. And I joked about it. You'd think all the excitement would be done when the chutes come out. Well, guess what? It's a handful down the shutdown area at certain times.
Man, that was very exciting. I think good on you, Ron. I'm glad you were able to do that. All right, let's get back to your round by round. So then the final round now. Oh, I guess your opponent went red, but you still ran 663, and that's it. You win the March meet. Just like that. Big deal.
Yeah, I shut it off early. I knew he went red, and in my head I'm thinking, don't mess up and cross the center line and give it back. But I wanted to run it down there and give the crew guys, a little excitement and making a good run. But it started to maneuver around a little bit, and I said, okay, that's enough. And I went ahead and just coasted through the finish line. So, I had tears in my eyes in the shutdown area, pulling around the corner. It's just overwhelming for me to have to think that I finally won the March meet.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on that. It is a major milestone. I am hoping that you'll get the opportunity to win another race as soon as is possible. Let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, clearly disappointed about the Gatornationals, listening to all the news, and just doing what is recommended. That's my strategy. But it's really tough for drag race type people, right? Who are hands-on doers, want to go out there and control their environment as best as is possible. Kind of being out of control of this situation is really tough.
Yeah, when I landed in Gainesville, and the word had been out, obviously, and there were fans that had flown in. I saw some other racers. A couple of my teammates were in the airport, and everybody was a little confused. Weren't quite sure what was going on. Why couldn't we still run the races? Even if fans didn't come, why couldn't we still run it with our cars there? A lot of people felt like it was a knee-jerk reaction from NHRA because at that time, my teammate Alexander Rossi and IndyCar were still going to run St. Petersburg, but without fans. NASCAR was still going to run that weekend without fans up in Atlanta, so we were feeling a little like, hey, why couldn't we? And I posted later on, kudos to Glenn Cromwell and NHRA for making the choice to not race when they did and give us time to both fly out and give the fans a chance to get back home safely. Looking back, it was announced the next day that IndyCar said, well, we're not racing either because the governor, obviously down there, you live there in Florida,
yes,
had advised people please not have events over a certain amount of people. And then sure enough, NASCAR decided to cancel, as did the PGA right after that. So we were a day ahead of that, or NHRA was. So, yeah, it was a knee-jerk, and people were a little upset. I ended up landing Thursday, and I had a Napa dinner like I do a lot of times. We have customers and local Napa people. I ended up still going to that dinner Thursday night. I had fans and customers in Napa. There were 45 of us at a restaurant downtown Gainesville that night. Some of them drove 2 hours just to go to dinner with us and with me. And so I stuck around, did that, and I flew home the next day. But just to see the fans, I ran into a lot of them that night and the next day at the airport. And, looking back, I think, it was hard. It was a hard decision to make, but I'm glad NHRA did what they did and when they did it.
And that's what leadership is all about, making tough decisions. We had the Garlits Hall of Fame on Thursday night, and it was my first year emceeing the event. Bob Fry, now officially retired from that, and I was fortunate that, Garlits called me. Big honor, by the way. It was like, oh, my gosh, Big Daddy. And so
Huge honor.
I did.
Huge.
I was stunned, frankly. But we got through it. It was great. But, everyone was the same situation, right? Like, oh, man, we don't want to do this. But there was fist bumping going on there instead of handshaking, and people were taking it seriously. That's an older crowd, as you can imagine, and no real reason to, to look fate in the face and not do the fist bump instead of the handshake. And so we did. We got through it. It was good. And, hopefully this is something that will pass like a wave, right? And we'll get ahead of it, and maybe whatever this is, social distancing will allow us to go back racing sooner rather than later. And we definitely don't want some sort of situation like is going on in certain areas overseas. But in the meantime, I guess
it is postponed. So the cool thing for the Gators fans is we are going back. And I've heard little rumblings of after certain races, maybe after Charlotte, maybe after Atlanta, who knows. But we will be back. And when we do go back, it's probably going to be great weather. It may even be great warm weather. But the cool thing is, hopefully the same fans can make the trip back. We'll see what happens. But the fact that it's not just canceled, like some of the other series did, NHRA made a point of saying, hey, we're going to go back and we will run that race. So we're looking forward to that.
There's been a run on, I don't know about your area, right? You live out in California, but I live in southeastern Florida, so there's been a bit of a run on anything, like whatever it is, toilet paper, eggs, except for the real expensive eggs I found out this morning. There's plenty of those, Ron. Free range, open pasture, organic, $7 a dozen. Man, they were stocked to the gilt. But the regular ones, no. But everything else is pretty much, everyone is like preparing, right? And I thought here I am at the Gatornationals on Thursday, and I was like, me and my dad have gone for 40 straight years, and this was our 41st straight year. And one thing we always did was get the patch and the sticker, the patch, the event patch and the event sticker. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get the event patch and the event sticker, because 10 years down the road, this is going to be one that is very unique from all the rest. Like, this is going to end up being the Gatornationals that is run, not in March. Who knows when? But hopefully we can all look back at this and just appreciate the unique nature of what is going on from other years. No, it's not going to go off as we would have liked, but it's going to go off, and we're going to be there, and we're going to be able to enjoy one another at some point. Different weather, different conditions, who knows? but we'll be there. Ron, thank you very much for getting our minds off of, the news and focusing on some great stuff, a great personal moment for yourself. And you guys all squared away with the fire on the rig and everything. I talked to Tobler out there in Arizona. He said some time back at the shop was going to be very, very well needed. And now you're getting a little bonus time. All of that in the rearview mirror?
Yeah. And it was nice. The guys needed to get back and really, get everything put back together and get all the stuff cleaned out of the old trailer and put back like it should be in the new trailer. So, yeah, it was much needed for our team. We'll see. They do get a little more time, unfortunately, now.
Yeah.
But the next race will be on the West Coast. If we do run Vegas coming up, hopefully everything calms down here soon. And I made a little mistake of Sunday telling the fans that with all this keeping distance, that I would digitally sign autograph cards for any fans that were going to be in Gainesville on my Facebook page and my Twitter page. Huh. And it's a little overwhelming. I didn't expect that many people. I told them I'd personalize them, and I have spent all day yesterday and last night and the last 2 days signing these cards digitally. It's cool. It's great, but I wasn't expecting that many. So
yeah. So WFO
the good part
Radio
is I'm home. I got nothing to do, and I will get all these out to you fans that didn't get them. Trust me.
Right, but for the WFO Radio listeners, who I like to think are next level fans, who want to unburden Caps from his accidental offer to personally sign for other people, just say what's up to them, Ron, and they'll be happy.
Oh, they were the first ones on. In fact, a lot of them said, "Hey, I don't need one signed. Just wanted to say, hey, the WFO listeners are great." And they come up to me every race that they come to, and it's kind of a cool little club.
That's exactly what it is. It's like a cool little secret society, like a club of drag racing fans that try to not be a pain and just, be happy to be out there. I think that's the deal. Ron, thank you very much. All the best to the family. Obviously, tense times, but I'm happy that we were able to, relive something that was cool and important, a lot of fun, and I can't wait till the next one.
I appreciate it, Joe. Thank you.
There he goes, Ron Capps with us here on WFO, and hopefully everybody out there is, stocked up and got their internet connected and ready to watch television and, do your thing, whatever it is, as we continue to evolve this situation. But for me, I saw some of you guys on Twitter out there and talking about this is a good opportunity to talk to Caps about the March meet win. And I monitor the Twitter feeds, and thank you for that. Thank you for the great idea. Like, that's what we need. We need great ideas. Crowdsource some great ideas. Now, people are always telling me ideas, and some are great and some are not great, and some are viable and some are not viable, and some just kind of get brushed to the wayside because of time and schedule. But during this period, man, we're open to all kinds of ideas. Email me, joe@wforadio.com. And, of course, our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram accounts are going to be active. And I had a great time out there at the Orlando Pro Stock Pro Mod race. That was really cool. A lot of good stuff going on. And I just want you to know, WFO is going to continue to be someplace that you can turn for some lighthearted entertainment with an acknowledgement of what's going on. We're not going to, pretend things aren't going on in the world. We're going to continue to do our fun stuff regardless of what's going on in the world as best as we can. For a few minutes, you can log on and hear about some stuff. And big thanks to our sponsors, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and samtech.edu, TotalSeal.com, MagicDryUS.com, and RoadAxeCoffeeandGrills.com. And that is an interesting point, the economy, right? The economy, what's going to happen in the economy? And the answer is things are going to slow down, right? Like all of my jobs have pretty much been canceled or postponed. And this is just part of it. This is part of it. Like, what can you do? I don't know. Just keep our sponsors in mind. Like, if you're sitting at home and you want some coffee, I think Marvin would love to sell you some coffee. And the same is true for everybody else that supports this show and everybody else out there in the world. Let's try to help each other. All right, everybody, WFO, be good, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
This is WFO Radio.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.
The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the blockhead and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
Hey everybody, Joe here, and I hereby decree on behalf of the WFO universe, the winter is over, which means it's time to grill. Get yourself some Rodax Coffee and Grills.com, barbecue, spice rub, hot sauce, and of course, incredible coffee. They've got the WFO radio blend, they've got the Bang the Blower, they've got the exotics. It's all roasted fresh per your order, representing the top 5% of coffee throughout the world. Go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com or give Marvin a call. 817-924-6821 for RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Hey engine builders, Total Seal piston rings are the leader in ring seal technology, and they go out of their way to help their customers and will make custom sets for any specific piston you might have. Customer service, top notch. Made in America? Absolutely. They're located in Phoenix, Arizona, and they've got everything it takes to develop the world's best piston rings. Give them a call at 800-874-2753 or go to TotalSeal.com.
Hey, WFO Universe. Want to hear your favorite interviews before anyone else? I'm talking VIP access. Want to get right to the interviews? Go to patreon.com/WFO radio. You get special VIP content, early access to interviews, and get straight to the interviews on patreon.com/WFO radio. That's patreon.com/WFO radio. Become a patron. Become a WFO VIP. Do it now.
You're working in the shop, you've got spills, you've spilled oil, it's everywhere. What are you going to do? I know what you're going to do, but that's not the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to go to magicdryus.com and order the official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association, Magic Dry. It's lighter, it absorbs more, it's better for the environment. It's made out of coconut. It's made in America. magicdryus.com. They've got spill kits that include everything you need for a regular, normal household spill, all the way up to a large industrial spill. We always say, if you've got a cat, get Cat Spot. If you've got a shop, if you've got a factory, if you've got a spill, call Magic Dry. That's magicdryus.com. Attention adrenaline junkies, Frank Hawley's Dragster Adventure is calling you. Rides available for the 2020 season. Go to frankhawley.com. They're coming to a track near you. It makes a great gift, and you know the holidays are coming, whether it be licensing for Super Comp, Super Gas, all the way up to Top Alcohol. They can do it. But if you're a drag racing fan and you've always imagined what it might be like to drive a dragster, to accelerate 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and run 10s in the quarter mile, give them a call. 866-480-7223, frankhawley.com, the Dragster Adventure, and tell them you heard it on WFO.
This is WFO Radio.